Welcome. Thank you for having me, at least on screen, here in Jakarta. When I got the invitation from Goethe-Institut in Jakarta, I was immediately hooked. As a journalist, I am now covering for years the topic of digital culture, and especially how the German far-right and trolls are using it. Among the enemies of enlightenment, each dark branch fight the liberal society with the same kind of set of tools. Daesh was using partly the same tools alt-right trolls are currently using all over the planet. Fake accounts to amplify messages, hyper-partisan disinformation campaigns, both were using pop culture of modern society to fight modern society. So they're using the same techniques, the same platforms. They use social media as a weapon and the public as a battleground. So it is because of this international battleground of our enemies I was catched from the first moment on when Nadine invited me to Jakarta to talk to you about far-right digital propaganda in Germany. In the face of our liberal task, it struck me as mandatory to share knowledge about different strategies of extremist groups all over the globe. Unfortunately, as you can see, I couldn't make it personally to Jakarta. I beg your pardon. But I'm thankful for the openness of Nadine Freischardt and Nico Sandfuchs and the team of the conference to dare the experiment of this video presentation. I'm curious and, to be perfectly honest, a bit nervous also that everything will play out well. Part of the reason why I am absent is, though, connected with this conference and this talk. In January, my first book will be published, The Right-Wing Mobilization. I've been working on it in the present months together with my friend and colleague Sören Musial. In the course of our research and studies, we talked to far-right activists all over Germany. We have watched hundreds of YouTube videos and scanned thousands of Instagram pics of far-right influencers and activists. We investigated in secret strategy papers and public right-wing strategy essays. We traveled Germany, visited demonstrations and extreme right-wing gatherings. We talked to experts and strategists who organize the far-right mobilization. Until this very day, we have been driven by the question, why is the far right in Germany and in many parts of Europe so influential and to some extent so successful in the online sphere? Sadly, unfortunately, in 2009, the question we are covering, the question we are researching on, got even more urgent. Several events have been also in broader public, raising the awareness about the urgency to tackle right-wing extremism. Just 2 weeks ago, the 27-year-old far-right extremist Stefan B. tried to shoot his way into a synagogue in Halle, East Germany, killing 2 people with homemade weapons nearby. He uploaded a manifesto on an obscure message board and live-streamed his shooting online on the mostly gaming streaming platform Twitch. The attack in Halle was a copy and paste terror attack. The shooting was carried out the same manner that the one in Christchurch and was clearly inspired by the one in New Zealand. The shooter carried out the same manner. The Halle gunman's social media rollout was nearly identical. It shows how much social networks continue to struggle to keep up with the virality of extremist violence. Even though he shows an obscure message board to announce his attack. People across larger platforms like Twitter, mostly Telegram, and message boards like 4chan were able to share code, screenshot and make memes out of his manifesto. It also was amplified by the mainstream media. Tabloids plastered his face on the front page. German TV played a video taken by a bystander of him stalking the streets of Halle. The Halle gunman was a lonely wolf terrorist. He self-radicalized in dark breaches of the internet. But my argument is that we can only understand these most extreme forms of far-right radicalization online, mostly online, if we regard and try to understand the right-wing information ecosystem. We can only understand right-wing mobilization by regarding both the ideology, the strategies, the content of far-right influencers, and how the platform works. This is what I would claim the digital authoritarian revolt. So we have to look after both sides of this word. The digital part, so why does the platform, or why do the platforms work in favor of extremists? And what is the ideology of these extremists? What are their strategies to use these platforms? To start this argument, I want to show you a short quote from a movie I did 2 years ago. We interviewed Martin Sellner. He's one of the co-leader of the extreme right-wing youth organization Identitarian Movement. He's an Austrian, but he's also one of the most influential right-wing activists in Europe. And he is, and that's not coincidentally, one of the biggest social media influencers of the extreme right. He has a more or less big YouTube account with more than 100,000 subscribers, Instagram account, Telegram groups, and so on. And I think this interview is interesting because it speaks very frankly about the strategic role of hate and anger.
Ich sehe darin einfach so einen Wirbelsturm, ein Chaospotenzial und Ironie, zum Teil auch Hass, auch Wut und Zorn, ja, gleichzeitig aber auch einfach manchmal auch einfach pubertären Gefühlen, ja, das immun geworden ist gegen jedes moralische Dogma, und dieser Wirbelsturm, dieser Tornado, der wird meiner Meinung nach die Political Correctness massiv beschädigen und sprengen.
Sellner admits that hate and anger are part of a strategy. He even welcomed his followers on YouTube with the claim, "Welcome to Infowar." And that's the key term to understand right-wing media appearance. They see themselves in a war about attention with the liberal public. Far-right actors are well aware of the join-in character, that digital cultures offer, and assume that their ambivalence will work for their cause. What Sellner admits here is he and the far right try to unfold an emotional dynamic as a carrier to gradually merge digital culture with far-right undertones. The far-right's preferred term for this is metapolitik, a subtle form of politics that changes the cultural foundation of political discourse. And how do they do it? And I think now we are really at the core of the question, really at the core of how the new far-right, or the far-right in Germany works. Because they look like these guys.
Yo, Freunde, heute bei Laut gedacht. Geschichten aus 1001 Nacht, ein modernes Märchen.
Ahnenforschung im Großstadtdschungel.
Und blühende Landschaften in Afrika.
Durch europäische Flüchtlinge.
It's German, but it's not important to understand. I think you got it. It's just the introduction of the YouTube video. And Infowar in the digital age uses all social media platforms to get to the target group. And that's a very good example, because it's the look and feel is just like any other YouTube format. It could be any other YouTube format from any political or even non-political opinion. So it's a good example to show the strategy behind the far right on the internet. This channel is called Laut Gedacht, like thinking out loud, and it's financed by an right-wing NGO and front organization with strong ties to both the right-wing party AfD, Alternative für Deutschland, Alternative for Germany. So this NGO financing this format has strong ties to Alternative für Deutschland and also to extremists of identitarian movements, and they're financing a lot of media programs, YouTube channels in favor of the far right. There are more YouTube channels like this promoting extreme right-wing opinions, extreme right-wing narratives and images. Same on Instagram. Instagram is one of the major platforms for the alt-right because they can present themselves there very emotionally, personally. They can pretend to not being political at all, just promoting their lifestyle. And there's another rather like new development in the German alt-right scene. They really do care about hip-hop music, which is oxymoronic, to say the least. But it's also obvious. I want to show you also a video from
Diese zwei unbesiegt sind bereit, Infokriegssicherheit lächerlich, sind befreit, Messerstich, aufrecht stehen, absolut, gerade gehen, deutsches Blut, Patrioten, die sich wehren, wir haben von dem Scheiß
These two guys even made it through the German charts, which is a major event for the far right because they can claim that they are now in the mainstream, and also using hip-hop, this multicultural music per se. It's kind of funny and of oxymoronic, but at the same time it's pretty a no-brainer to use it because hip-hop is the most influential culture in the world. So of course they're using hip-hop as a weapon, hip-hop as a tool to get to the youth. And also music is the most important video content on YouTube. The most successful videos are music videos. So it's just a thing of strategy to have your own hip-hop and music content on YouTube. So they are right now extremely successful with it. What is interesting about these guys, you just see this Instagram post and it's in German, but it's on like 2 months ago we had federal elections, Saxony and Brandenburg, federal state of Brandenburg. And what these two guys did is they promoted a party. Of course, they promoted the far-right party Alternative for Germany, which is in this federal states even more extreme. So these two guys promote to vote in an extreme right-wing party, the AfD. They promote, so that's a really rare thing that hip-hoppers promote a party. That's another hint for the following argument. There is a network of far-right activists on YouTube, on Instagram, that is huge, and no other party have this kind of large network of influencers who promote this party. So why do they use especially Instagram, but also YouTube so frequently? Martin Sellner wrote, "We can only win this war on emotions, leaving the ground of pure facts. We need a moral justification of our position much more urgently than proof of its factual correctness." That's the strategy. It's not about facts, because with facts you can win minds maybe, but you can't win hearts. And nobody falls in love with an organization, but people do fall in love with people, with faces, with stories, with narratives. So the idea, the strategy is to get to these social media platforms, showing your face, tear down the barrier of emotions, get like strong ties to the people, and then infiltrate them with your racist agenda. That's what they call the war on emotions. And no surprise here, in the German alt-right media ecosystem, there are several existing formats you could, on the first glance, find on any other YouTube or Instagram channel. They have cooking shows, they have hip-hop artists, they have travel vlogging, they have people doing hauls, and so on. So they really play the rules of the platforms pretty well. But of course, it's strategy. So topic invasion is a term used, for instance, by Martin Sellner, describing a strategy of communication, especially online. The aim is to bring the identitarian ideology to the mainstream discourse, possible through constant repetition and normalization of a concept and its idea, which propagates from the edge to the center. And you could imagine this topic invasion as a continuous idea train that you can imagine as a gently rising web. So the idea is pretty old. Extremist actors try to implement these ways of hijacking the discourse before. They did it before. Another term for the American alt-right is using is the overtone window. So the idea that the spectrum of accepted opinions in society moves or expands and becoming more or less politically acceptable. That's the strategy of alt-right all over the planet, to move this overtone window, to make racist, nationalistic ideas more acceptable. It always has been like this, more or less. But there's something new in it, and I try to introduce you to the world of alt-right social media appearance in Germany. But in times of social media, they are getting unintended help by Facebook, Google, and co. Why is that? On social media platforms, we live in a media reality shaped by algorithms. The ultimate aim for Facebook, YouTube, and co. is to extend the time we are spending online. Engagement is the North Star of any social media company. Getting people to watch and use your platform as long as to any extent possible. In this way, social media keeps pushing the diffusion of post-truth, of hate and conspiracy theories forward, which the fascist rationale then builds on. Because the edgier, the more radical a piece of content is, the higher the likelihood to getting viral. The stronger an emotion, the more information is shared. There's pretty strong evidence that especially negative emotions help to spread content on social media. The angry mood delivered through social ties could boost the spread of corresponding news and speed up the formation of public opinion and collective behavior. It's actually not a stretch to say virality is populism. The alt-right politics is based on anger, fury, outrage, emotions that spread dramatically fast on social media. That is why I argue that we just have a new situation in public that could lead to a far-right dominance. And that's why I call it the digital authoritarian revolt, because there are two parts of it. There is a digital part of it, using the platforms because the platforms work the way they do. And there's another part that's about ideology, it's about the strategy. The alt-right is using these platforms. And in order to fight against this revolt, we need to watch both sides, the platform side and the side of the ideology of the strategy. And Halle starts, and all the other terrorist attacks we experience in the last year start in a way on the internet. They are using the narratives, the pretty much the same narratives that leads to these terrorist attacks that you can find in their manifestos. The same they are trying to sell to young people on the internet, on YouTube and Instagram mostly. So we should be aware of these kind of alt-right news ecosystem, and I'm looking forward to discuss with you these topics.